Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee Fusion. This week we're going to look at technology in coffee. Hey guys, so if you've been watching my latest videos and perhaps my Snapchat posts, you may have noticed that I've got a new Acaya Luna sitting underneath my cup when I'm extracting my shots. And if you've been around the Coffee Fusion community for a long time, you'll know that I've worked with Acaya since the beginning actually. I actually backed them on Kickstarter before they were even funded. And Acaya were nice enough to give me this set of Luna scales to use in the videos and to get an even greater level of accuracy in my extraction. But this got me thinking about technology in coffee, and certainly aside from the big purchases like my Rocket and my Mazza Mini, the big kind of really nice equipment to have at home, things like Acaya scales have really improved my kind of coffee at home more than anything else. And this is because when I got my first set of Acaya scales, I started weighing every shot, so weighing every dose, and the quality and the consistency improved because of that. I had obviously a good technique for trying to make my dose consistent before, but really making sure that your dose is exactly the same every time really improves your consistency. And obviously now that I have the Luna scales underneath my cup weighing every shot, that consistency is going to really increase again, obviously because I'll be measuring not only the grams out, but the time it takes for that to happen, so getting a really good control over my flow rate as well. But this got me thinking about how much coffee has changed in the time that I have been making coffee and the technology and how that has changed. For example, when I started making coffee, we did weigh shots as kind of like a qualitative purpose, but we'd use that to kind of dial in. And then outside of that, our extractions would be dosing kind of with a technique, but the consistency around our dose would vary a little bit depending on the barista. And as a result, you would see the shot times kind of move around a little bit throughout service. Whereas anyone who's making coffee in a cafe these days and weighs every single shot would know, when you are weighing every shot and making sure they're exactly the same, those extraction times just really come together and are nice and consistent. And obviously because of that, the coffee is nice and consistent as well. So brands like Acaya who make scales for use on the bar in these kind of situations are really kind of helping to develop the specialty coffee scene and improve the quality of coffee overall. Obviously other things have evolved in my time as a barista as well, be that espresso equipment, grinders, all that kind of stuff, the little tools that we use to make our coffee, all of these little technology enhancements make our coffee better. And then when I think about my time as a roaster over the last few years, the same thing has happened. For example, when I first started roasting, it was more about watching the bean development and looking at how the bean looks, or listening out for first crack or second crack, watching the bean kind of smooth out. The first roaster I used, a Probat, either had heat on or heat off, and air through the drum or through the cooling tray. There was no kind of playing around with any of it. And don't get me wrong, the coffee was good, but as I got access to better technology, for example, the next roaster I used was a Jopa, I could control the burner, I could control the air through the drum. That meant that I could play around with how long the coffee roasted for. I could play around with different batch sizes and all this kind of stuff. And I started to understand how I could kind of make a coffee taste differently depending on how I roasted it. This was obviously happening before, but I could kind of manipulate variables even more so. And because the roaster was attached to a laptop, I could then look at those roast profiles, and when I found something that really worked, I can make sure that I was always roasting the coffee that way. So again, consistency, but also getting the best out of the coffee. And nowadays, roasting for Coffee Fusion is the same thing, but I'm buying even better greens so that I can really get these unique and interesting flavors out of the coffee. And I'm able to do that because of the technology that I'm using. And then again, once I find those really great roast profiles, I can mimic that result. And then the last way I want to talk about how technology has evolved our coffee quality is the internet. If you're watching this video right now, you're probably a Coffee Fusion community member, or you are at least looking around on YouTube for videos about coffee, so you know already that you can educate yourself using the internet and learn a lot about coffee. But having the internet also makes it easier for us to, for example, chat with Origin, For example, I'm able to chat to Annabella, who's the producer of the Guatemalan coffee Santa Felisa that I buy. And that for me is the really exciting thing about technology. Having that more open and direct communication with the people who are producing our coffee, remembering that coffee is made or broken before we even get it in our hands as roasters. So I know a lot of people talk about technology in coffee and how it can potentially take away from the skill of the barista, but I think really a true barista uses that technology to kind of take coffee even further, and having that technology allows you to extract the best out of the coffee in a consistent way and makes you know that you're doing the best with the coffee. And for me, I think that makes technology a great thing for coffee. But I'd be really interested to know what you guys think about this one. So what kind of technology are you using to make your coffee better? Or are you still making your coffee in an old school way where you're kind of dosing more manually and extracting by look and feel? I don't mind either way, but let me know how you're using technology in coffee and how it's working for you. Thanks guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, just click that like button, that really helps me. And if this is your first video, Coffeefusion community is a community of people who kind of talk about coffee and learn more about coffee together. And we have a roastery so you can buy some really nice specialty coffee and use what you've learned to make the best coffee you can. If you like the sound of that, click that subscribe button and check out my other videos because I release 2 new videos every week and there's a whole range of really good educational coffee content on my channel. Thanks so much guys, remember to leave your comments down below and I'll see you next week for some more videos. Bye!